among the millions who fought in the First World War, we're forgetting 1,000 generals, leaders, and presidents who play a part in this war. Only one name remains to be mentioned. This is because to his genius in the face of all possibilities and difficulties, which he became the greatest and most famous figures of this war. A British officer with a slim body in size and strange traits in the nature of his behavior, the lover of the literature and the legendary poems Homer, where he published an elegant translation of the Odyssey epic. That officer who transformed a revolt in the far reaches of the Arabian desert into work of art. He explained the titles of that epic in his book under the title 7 Pillars of Wisdom. This man is Thomas Edor Lawrence, or Lawrence of Arabia. Thomas Edor Lawrence was born on 16th of August 1888 in Tremadoc, Wales, in a house named Snowdon Lodge. His Anglo-Irish father, Thomas Chapman, had left his wife Edith after he fell in love and had a son with Sarah Jonah, a young Scotswoman who had been engaged as governess to his daughters. Sarah and Thomas did not marry, but lived together under the name Lawrence. They had 5 sons, and Thomas Edward was the second eldest. When Lawrence became a young man in 1908, he joined in the University of Oxford. He suggested to his professors that he visit the Middle East to do archaeological excavations. He prepared his trip by learning some Arab grammar that he helps him communicate with the others. He set alone on 3-month walking tour of Crusader castles in Ottoman Syria. He toured several areas of the Levant until he reached the Jordan Valley and then the Dead Sea. After a long struggle, he decided to return to his country to pursue his studies in the region, where he received a first-class honors from Oxford. In December 1910, he sailed for Beirut and on his arrival went to Mountain Byblos, where he studied Arabic language. Then he went to work near of Jerablus in the northern Syria. He said about Arab civilization,
Arab civilizations had been of an abstract nature, moral and intellectual rather than applied, and their lack of public spirit made their excellent private qualities futile. They were fortunate in their epoch. Europe had fallen barbarous, and the memory of Greek and Latin learning was fading from men's minds.
Before the Ottoman Empire officially entered the war alongside the Germans, Sharif Hussein, patron of Mecca and governor of Hijaz, sent a letter to Lord Kitchener, who was appointed later a British War Secretary, suggesting that the Arabs could effectively help the Allies against the Turks. The welcome was clear from the British government. They gave to Sharif Hussein a promise to put an Arab ruler to take over the Islamic Caliphate. The Ottoman Empire suffered from Arab hatred for its rule as result of the distinguished treatment between Turks and Arab people and the injustice practiced by the Turks in this regard.
In my opinion, it was not useful to win Turkey on our side because of its weakness and inevitable collapse. And I saw in the Arab peoples the hidden powers which also reflect our intentions. These Semitic peoples are great in their religious beliefs. They are excited today, after more than 500 years under the flame of the Ottoman oppression, to gain their freedom. So when Turkey declared war against Britain, we who believe in the Arabs have started to focus on British efforts and create a new Arab world in Asia.
Britain sought to take advantage of this potential in the region to achieve victory in the war. Sir Gilbert Clayton, the British intelligence director in Egypt, summoned Lawrence to his office at the headquarters of the British High Command in Cairo. Clayton ordered appoint Lawrence in the map section. Lawrence's genius appeared in this field. His views were taken on military plans. After that, he was transferred to the Secret Intelligence Department. In the spring of 1916, the Middle East policy makers, in the head of members of the British Council of Ministers, have agreed on the basic lines of the post-war world to divide the Ottoman state. A deal was made which divided the Ottoman territories between Britain, France, and Russia. This deal was Sykes-Picot Agreement. The deal was revealed to senior British officials in Egypt. Lawrence opposed French colonial plans for Syria and Lebanon. He moved to the Arabian Peninsula to stand up to the reality of the Arab revolting against the Turks, led by Sharif Hussein and his sons.
A first difficulty of the Arab movement was to say who the Arabs were. Being a manufactured people, their name has been changing in sense slowly, year by year. Once it meant an Arabian. There was a country called Arabia, but this was nothing to the point.
Lawrence meant Prince Abdullah, the second son of the Sharif Hussein. He was looking for the leader's personality for the revolution, that England could support him. Lawrence asked Prince Abdullah to allow him to roam the country, to stand on the reality of the situation, and raise a report to the General Command in Cairo. Prince Abdullah sent a letter to his brother, Prince Ali, to accompany Lawrence and ensure his safety. Lawrence used the Arab clothes to travel around the Arabian Peninsula as Arabic man from Aleppo. He went through the rest of the desert, traveling between its valleys and its vast hills, and contact with its inhabitants.
Men have looked upon the desert as barren land, the freeholding of whoever chose. But in fact, each hill and valley in it had a man who was its acknowledged owner and would quickly assert the right of his family or clan to it against aggression.
Then he met Prince Faisal, the oldest son of Sharif Hussein. Lawrence found Faisal's personalities that he was looking for.
I felt at first glance that this was the man I had come to Arabia to seek, the leader who would bring the Arab revolt to full glory. Faisal looked very tall and pillar-like, very slender in his long white silk robes and his brown headcloth bound with a brilliant scarlet and gold cord.
Lawrence became a link between the British command in Cairo and the Arab forces and the British army led by General Allenby. Lawrence has waged a guerrilla war. He described his forces as
their minds were strange, dark, full of depression and needed rules. But they outweigh anyone in the world in terms of enthusiasm, loyalty, and the fertility of their faith. They show unlimited courage and diversity during the struggle, but they do not finish until the end of their work, and they don't have goals.
he made long journeys in the arid desert and was exposed to many dangers. He led several operations, particularly in the bombing of the Ottoman locomotives and railroads in the region. He suffered injuries and wounds several times, and he was detained and tortured in the Turkish prisons. Later, Lawrence's forces were able to reach and liberated Damascus and form a new government there. After the end of the military operations in the East, Lawrence returned to England. In 1920, began to write his famous book, 7 Pillars of Wisdom, until it ended in 1925. Later he joined of the Royal Air Force under the false name T.E. Joe. In fact, he suffered a lot of stress from the difficult life, especially after discovering that he was a British intelligence agent in the Arab region. In 1935, he died about 46 years after falling from his motorcycles, which he was driving very quickly in Dorset, close to his cottage, Clouds Hill. He was buried at the Morton Cemetery. At his funeral, attended by prominent political and military figures from British society. His statue was erected in front of St. Paul's Cathedral in London.